Good morning, students. Our next page on ribbons is complex ribbons. So what you see here is an example where we've used linear perspective. So we've established a single vanishing point, and we've added a couple guidelines from the corners, and then used those guidelines to help determine where our ribbon should fit so that it looks like it is vanishing off into the distance. The ribbon at the bottom is below the vanishing point, so we see the top of it. The ribbons above the vanishing point, we see the bottom of. And we've also used some guidelines. You may see some faint lines there. So we're going to talk about the top part. Here's an example that I have started above the vanishing point. After I have drawn this out, we're sort of working opposite of the basic ribbons that we learned about. We're going to bring our line up from all of the edges as opposed to down like we did before. We're going to create a series of 3 ribbons, and so we want to make these at least about 3/4 of an inch wide. So that'll give us room to make the next one smaller and the third one smaller than that. Now all the lines on these are parallel to the edge that I already have. We'll only get smaller as we draw the next ribbon. Right here is a common spot where people forget you're not coming off an edge, but we do see the bottom edge of this ribbon in there. We'll go ahead and give ourselves some guidelines from what we've drawn very lightly, because we'll end up erasing these. I'll come from the corners where I've made a turn, so the edge, not so much a corner but the edge. Bring those lines towards the vanishing point. And again, these are just guidelines, so draw them very lightly. Okay, after we have the guidelines, we need to visualize that we are going to put another ribbon of a similar form, flowing back and forth in the same way, right behind this one. So I'm going to start to sketch in a line that looks very similar to the initial one I did here. When I hit this guideline, I know that I turn and go back, just like the one above. Then when I hit this guideline, I turn, go back the other direction. You may or may not run into the ribbon above. It's a good thing if you do, because then it'll help show that you have overlapped. I'm going to move this line up just a little bit so that I have more overlapping. And I could go ahead and draw as if it were there and then just erase it afterwards. Bring it across, have it hide right behind there, and again I'm performing the same curves that I saw up above, or did up above. And hit this guideline, which represents this turn and that little curly Q. And then I need to do it on this side. Alright, up here we were about 3/4 of an inch wide, and so now we want to be about a 1/2 inch wide. So right here it's just going to disappear behind, disappear behind, disappear behind. I will probably see the line here because this is about a 1/2 inch. That line disappears behind. There's about a 1/2 inch, and then I disappear. This 1/2 inch I probably don't see, and so this comes up, and I probably don't see it there either. So there's not my next ribbon. Then I'll just continue to use these guidelines. You need to do at least 3 ribbons in a row like this. If you want to attempt more, that would be great. So here I go, following the same lines. So I'm just looking at the curves that I made up above, trying to perform the same sort of curve using those guidelines. Now I'll bring my line up. The middle one was about a half inch, and so now I'll be about 3/8 of an inch. So I'll see a little bit there. Don't get yourself too confused here, but right here I will see this line. Bring this up. I will probably see a little bit of a line there. There. Actually, as I look back, I probably will see a little line here. Now, to help all of the viewers be able to see what you're doing, you're definitely going to need to shadow this one. I'll get rid of my guidelines. I don't need the guidelines anymore. And I'm just lightly erasing because I'll be shading on top of those. Now, shading on this one, we should try to do a little bit better job. Again, we're going to think about light source coming in from the right. So as I come into all of the turns, I will make those fairly dark and blend out. As I start to build up all of these shadows, it'll help the viewer see what's going on, make those guidelines disappear, and create some nice space in our three-dimensional drawing. Now that's just the beginning. Here's an example where we've taken it a little bit further and added some more shadows. We can take it a step further than that and utilize our ebony and really make it a lot more dramatic. And definitely on this one, we're using more of our side of the pencil technique to really finish it off and make it look like a more complete finished drawing. If you so choose, you could attempt to add a little bit of colored pencil if you're having trouble distinguishing your values between each of your ribbons.